Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Azureish Live with myself, Liam Gulliver, and my companions Jonathan Ralph and Pete Gallagher. As always, as well, it's worth noting that everything we do on the show, if you go to the link above at the top of the screen now, you'll be able to follow along at home as well, and also open PRs as we go along, and all that kind of fun stuff too.
Just get an adult to use the scissors. That's all.
Yes, yeah. Make sure you've got some sticky back plastic.
Yes,
and some old glue rolls.
Is empty first.
Yeah, empty loo rolls. All of those things.
Yep.
You're gonna need all of that today.
Speaking of today, so last time on the show, we actually ended up coming up against a live incident with Azure DevOps. But today, I did a quick check a minute ago. In that the stream info isn't up to date, so let me just quickly fix that because I didn't click update over yonder. So
see you, Liam. Quick, we can say things about him, and he can't defend himself now.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm only on the other side of the room.
Can't be that rude. Yeah, there's only a degraded availability of artifacts at the moment, so I think we're safe. But you never know; artifacts might catch us out in a second.
Well, precisely. So. I know Europe had a couple of issues this morning, but on the whole, so last time we came up against a couple of issues. With that, we did eventually run our pipeline in the background off air, and we had a couple of issues there as well because we couldn't test it on the show. So what we'll do today is kind of pick up from there really, and firstly try and resolve those issues because that's always good to do. Otherwise, we're not going to get very far. And then from there, we're going to start taking a look at the next pieces. So the next pieces that we want to look at is we're going to have deployed our backend by this point once we've solved our issue. So now we've got a couple of other things that we need to start taking a look at. So we already started going along the lines of deploying our front end into a storage account. Because that's all Blazor WebAssembly. And then the things that we've got to do from there is we've got our Azure Functions proxy, which we'll need to deploy as well. And then once all that's up and running, do another environment, essentially. Do a prod and actually then flick over the stream to use the real deal rather than our knockoff one, I guess, that we've got right now.
The one that we stood up manually, yeah.
Yeah. So let's go and take a quick look at what we had last time. So in fact, sorry, gents, I haven't shared my screen with you. So let me do that. Create a secondary stream. What does that do? Oh, that's exciting. That's a new way of doing things.
New button in Ninja.
There's a new button.
I've taken to using the editor or whatever it's called, View.
Director View.
Yeah, the Director View. It takes way less resources than this view. You get a smaller image of the guests, and you can share your screen and your audio still, but the resources are about half, interestingly. So
yeah,
it's quite a nice way of doing it.
So we got this far really last time. So we had our API, and we started to add a prod in. A dev in. And we had a failure. So let's go and take a quick look at what that is. And effectively, it was our... we had an issue where this didn't exist because UK South isn't... that's not the shortcode we're using. We use UKS for that. So let's go through and take a quick look at those things. Let me just make sure we've got our latest on here, and we'll zoom in a little bit as well.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
So we have all of these things in here from before. So just as a quick reminder for everybody, we're using our variables in our Terraform. And in our Terraform, we have our, we've got our variables file, and then we've got this TFVars that we're replacing things with in Azure DevOps. And ultimately, it looks like what we've got is this just hasn't been replaced with the right value.
And that's in DevOps, though, isn't it?
Say again, sorry.
That's in DevOps. That's in the pipeline directly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Variable replacement task that you'll have created in there.
Yeah, we just didn't use the shortcode, did we?
Yeah, so that's what we've got. So we've got location shortcode. So we just used location, and that's the thing that got replaced. So it is going to be in here. So you can see where we've got our location shortcode and our location in our main. That's our storage account. So we'll come back to that in a minute because we'll need to make the change there too. But in our backend, you're right. Yeah, we just used at some point we just used location. Well, we've got a location shortcode.
It was in the resource group identifier, wasn't it?
Maybe
it was the function name.
Was it?
What was the error again?
I don't know. I've gone away from that screen now. So
refresh the source.
I've moved too many screens on. Yeah, you're right. It was that
resource should exist. So no, it's the function, isn't it? It's ends-func.
Yeah, but so what we've got is we've got a function storage, resource, blah blah blah, function.
Oh, it's there. Look, is it?
There,
dot location. That should be dot location shortcode.
No, it shouldn't.
Oh, really?
This is the location of the resource group.
No.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
It's the env prefix.
Yeah, so our env prefix has location shortcoding.
Huh?
And as far as I can see, our location shortcode
is UKS.
Have we spelled location correct? Shortcode. Yeah.
But then it wouldn't.
Is our TF variables set correct? Yeah.
That's weird.
Just double check, just to be on the safe side.
You'd have thought if it was spelt wrong, it wouldn't repeat anything.
Well, correct. Yeah.
It's like it's found the location part and said, "I'm having that." I know
underscore.
We've not hard coded it somewhere, have we?
I don't think so.
I mean, we're using
UKS there.
So it was definitely which step it was. It was definitely the build. I can't remember which task it was running when it failed. That would be easier to match up.
Yeah. But this is at the point of deploy, right? So we're going Terraform, deploy.
There we go.
Yeah, no, it says.
Oh, there it is.
It is here. There you go.
Ta-da.
Location.
Oh.
Shortcode.
That's better. We're just testing that worked. That's all it was.
There we go.
At least somebody's been paying attention, and it was Azure DevOps that was.
Yes.
Other than this.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we've got that running. Hello to everybody watching, by the way.
Yes, we've got quite a few people watching at the moment. Hello to
you. If you're enjoying what we're doing, please feel free to obviously follow us here on Twitch, or if you're feeling generous, subscribe to us using either your Prime benefit or your own money. If you wanted to help support the channel with all the great content that we've got throughout the week, or the weeks as they go on.
I believe Talk to Me Goose.
So we've got all of those.
Exactly that.
Go to pipelines.
So we're going to trigger another run then.
Yes, but that shouldn't have just triggered it anyway. Let me just double check
that in unless
trigger branches main feature.
Yeah.
Include backend. No, it's correct because it's not in backend.
It's not in backend, yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. So we'll run that. What I'm going to do whilst I'm here, we'll add that in.
Now we'll have 2 runs.
So let's see how long we're waiting for this time, if at all. It's working. It's moving.
Whoop. We're not stuck in a waiting queue.
Actually, that's a good point. Talk to me, Goose. So thank you for featuring us on the Azure subreddit. But we've actually, over the course of the weekend, launched a Discord as well, and I'll pop a link out to that shortly. If you go to our Twitter, which is just at Azureish Live as well, you'll find a link there too. In fact, let me find Discord while I remember, and I will also post that we're live in there because I have neglected to do that. Of course, Discord's just going to open on this monitor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I then can't seem to move until
It's finished loading. There we go. Gone now. Nearly gone.
There we go. Oh, in fact, no, I don't need to because I set up the Twitch bot and it worked first time. So that's nice to see working.
I was playing with the Microsoft Power Toys last night with the Fancy Zones Snap support.
I like that.
Yeah, Fancy Zones is invaluable. Although Chris from Nottingham Community suggested another one that I can't remember its name now. That I must try at some point.
It was an interesting nod to the fact that a future experimental release coming soon, that there's the video conference mute feature coming into that soon.
What, just a general video conferencing mute option?
Just on a one button mutes all kind of idea in Power Toys.
Yeah. What I want and what Cliff Aegis and I want is a way to be able to use the graph, the Office 365 graph, to be able to read if you're on mute or not. Because the number of times that people are chatting and they don't know they're on mute. So Cliff and I want to create an IoT solution to that problem that flashes a light to say you're speaking, but you're on mute, you Burke. Because it does tell you.
There's a lot of tooling these days that will at least do that for you anyway. So like Teams will tell you and Zoom will complain at you and that kind of thing.
Not very good at doing it though.
I've found that with the RTX card I've got an NVIDIA broadcast, if I'm not muted and I just stop speaking, that sometimes Teams just goes, I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Like you're not muted, but I don't think your devices are working because your sound cancellation is so good.
Quiet as a mouse.
Yeah.
So we're not waiting too long for build agents now because that took.
No, I cancelled the other one because obviously we're using I think we're back to being a private project for now, with what we were trying to solve last time. So we don't have concurrent jobs, which is fine. We don't need them in this scenario right now. What we do have though is this new associated pipelines thing, which I quite like. I'm not quite sure what purpose it serves though, because surely you're only going to one build to one pipeline. But I guess if you've got multiple pipelines defined.
Yeah, if you're forking off to other pipelines to do things concurrently, maybe.
Potentially, yeah.
No swearing, Jonathan.
You always have to be careful with GitHub. I do a lot of forking on GitHub. In fact, so I found a library recently that actually, the one useful thing about the network view in GitHub, a library that I was using to solve a problem had... that's in a loop. Do you know what? There's a live issue with artifacts at the moment, Liam.
There's a live artifact. Well, this isn't even...
Look at that. There's...
How do you cancel that? How do you cancel that? Can you cancel it?
I've just hit refresh.
You can cancel the run somewhere, can't you?
Okay. I don't... Well, it's not the run that's the problem. It's the UI.
Amazing.
Oh, okay. Right.
Okay. Yeah, so I found a library that I've been using off NuGet, and I looked at... it was not missing a feature, but they'd given an interface that you could have built off to actually implement your own authentication. And I was hoping that somebody had implemented a different auth that I needed for OAuth 2. I looked at the network tab in GitHub, and lo and behold, somebody in the network who had forked it had implemented that. And so I was able to go to their project and learn from how they'd done it. So it was, that idea of there may be a central repository that you're relying on, but the fact that others that in the community that are iterating on that, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's interesting that people that do that often don't make pull requests either, which is a shame because that's kind of the community influence on those central repositories. Really,
sometimes project owners want to maybe keep things core without adding millions of features on the edge. But in that case, it was a good example of where somebody's taken prior work.
Yeah, but I mean, there's also an element like, as much as I like doing this sort of stuff, like I know that I, along with others, I won't go and open up a PR for repos for folks I don't know. You know, like when we're working together, it's a different thing. But for random strangers on the internet, I'm less inclined to do it just because imposter syndrome is a thing. So,
well,
well, I think if it adds value, it allows the project owner to consider it at least. So we've got the UI issue out of the way. That says
we have deployed successfully our API into dev. So I'm just going to open up Windows terminal so that we can also prove that effectively.
Big fan of Windows Terminal.
In fact, let me just quickly.
It was only recently when I was listening to. I've spotted that Scott Hanselman does quite a bit on TikTok, which I didn't realize he was there. And he was talking about the fact that in the future it's going to become the default terminal. I didn't realize that.
What's that? Sorry.
Windows Terminal is going to replace Command Prompt in future builds.
It already has in the Insider build.
Well, I'm not on the. I'm still on the normal.
In fact, I did see. I've got an update to install. So it might be my default now, maybe. Obviously, we've had Kayla Cinnamon on.
I was about to say that.
He's the project manager.
Yes.
For Windows Terminal on some of our shows previously as
well.
She
was awesome. Really good conversation that was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And really interesting as well that I didn't realize that Workstation Linux support was going to be extended next to apps as well as the subsystem as well. You'll be able to run Linux apps in Windows 10 as well soon.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, GUI stuff.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, WSL2.
Yeah, sorting out the login at the moment because
log in or logging.
Log in. Okay.
Cool.
No, that's not to zoom in, is it? That's to zoom in here. So let's just make that a little bit larger so we can see a bit better.
I need to pimp mine with the Azure.
So we should be able to go AZ group list. Let's do a table as well. So we'll see it as a table. So there's all of the. So I still can't see that resource group. Pete.
Let me have a look.
We discussed.
It's definitely there.
We discussed this at the end of last time. Is that we couldn't, for some reason, you had no visibility of it, even though it's definitely there.
Yeah, let's see if there's anything that we can see that would help us to diagnose that. So, what's the resource group name that we can't see again?
So it will be words and things. No, I'm in the wrong thing. In fact, I can't see any of our stuff. I can't even see the shared one. So it'll be stuff that's prefixed with AZL dash because that's our Azureish Live shortcode.
Okay. And resource groups. Yeah, so I can see both of those. Let's have a look at what that says when we go into them. So access control.
I can see the resource group that I think I still deployed for the robot arm remote control with Azure demo that we've got.
Yeah, you're not set up as contributors on those resource groups. The Git watch it is, but is this a valid thing that you're supposed to do while you're setting it up in the pipeline? Is to add that?
I thought we were on the subscription, so we should still be able to see it.
I wonder if you put it in the wrong sub.
Yeah, you see, I don't.
That's a good question.
Well, it ends in 6.7. Is that the right one?
No, I'm on 8E7.
Yeah, so that'd be the reason then you put it in the wrong sub.
Let me move that in here.
Because I've got two Azure sponsorship subscriptions. They're both called Azure sponsorship, and it trips me up all the time.
There will be the problem then.
Yeah, one ends in E7, I think, and one ends in 6.7 or something like that.
Tell you what, Pete. You send me the GUID on Slack.
I will do that,
and I will put it in the right secret, and we'll try again.
Okay, 1 second then.
In any case, we're going to need to delete wherever these resources sit.
Do you want me to just do that while I'm in there now? Or?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, hold on.
Yeah, because we that would explain why. Because
I'll just do that while I'm in here.
Yeah, that would explain a lot.
Yeah, but this is a valid point because we're not the only people that are going to get
that. Story that I've told you in the past, where I was doing back in the day when I was using Macromedia Flash before to build something, and I was inventing a dashboard that was a black background, and I put a text box on, and I spent half a day debugging why my value from a variable was not appearing on screen, to then discover that it was black text on a black background, and it was doing exactly what it should have done all day, but I couldn't see it because it was black text on a black background. So this is similar, where we've successfully deployed to an Azure subscription, just not the one we're looking at.
I'm going to go ahead and blame Pete for not naming his subscriptions.
I don't even get a choice. Can you go in and rename it somewhere? Can you?
Yeah.
All right. I've just not even bothered doing that because I'm
Rename.
lazy.
There's a button at the top of that.
Yeah, I'm just going to send you the.
Just call it Pete Fix This.
This is nowhere near as much fun, though, is it? I like guessing on a daily basis.
Like guessing. I love unpredictability in my deployments.
What you
That's
like?
really DevOps.
You just like typing GUIDs out. That's what you like.
Yeah, no, I just look at E7 or 6.7 and I know which one it is.
That reminds me, speaking of GUIDs, somebody once said that they came up with an idea that they should create a lottery where you could buy a GUID for £1, and then if it came up...
yeah, one in the entire universe of chances then or whatever. Yeah, good luck with that lottery. You've won a black hole in the Sirius system.
Also, it's worth pointing out as well. So thank you for subscribing as well. Talk to me, Goose. That's really going to help us with paying for Pete's Pluralsight courses in how to do Azure.
How to do Azure subscriptions.
How to do Azure.
Yeah. And also, of course, it now unlocks his emote for using Pete Code's emotes now. So that's
useful. Yes.
Yeah. You can have my big head emote if you like. Is there a Liam emote?
I think after 2 months, you get like a me as well. I haven't done the Jonathan one yet, but I will do.
Oh, Jonathan.
Right,
I've deleted those resource groups.
Cool.
And I've
sent me
the
oh yeah, you have. Sorry.
Yeah, ages ago. Yeah.
I was too busy concentrating on taking the piss.
That's fair. Yeah, we can do that. That's all right. It's supposed to be funny, this show, yeah.
Allegedly. Okay, so you're saying that's done, right? So there's our. No, I don't want you to. No, go away.
I've switched it from your mobile now. Oh, you've only got 2 switches left. LastPass.
Yeah. No, I don't want any new part line. What am I doing? Sorry.
Are you paying for it? Are you going to pay for LastPass, or are you going to?
No, I'm going to switch to something else that's free.
Right.
it's my plan. Yep. Right. Okay. So let's click run and see what happens this time, and make sure it goes through.
Meanwhile, I suppose you could drag your Windows terminal off and check you're on the right sub.
Yes. AZ account list.
The AZ tool is becoming so much. I found it's so much more powerful. Obviously, there was that period where we were moving away from the previous one to AZ, but it's so good now.
I spend a lot of time in the Cloud Shell in Azure as well. I tend to use that. I quite like that. But...
Yes, I am looking at the role.
Although that does require a storage account, doesn't it? In the back end, I think it keeps history and stuff in a storage account. I mean, it's not a problem, but it's just another artifact. Nothing more.
It's a really good point though, because if you are on the free tier, I'm not sure you get free storage. So if you sign up to one of these, I think. But I had somebody come to me because they wanted to start using IoT, and so for some reason, when they started going through the docs, they chose to do the CLI version, which is fine, and they wanted to use a Cloud Shell, but they didn't want to have to put their credit card details and stuff in and start paying for stuff. So they wanted to use a free tier IoT hub, but to use the CLI, you need storage. And I don't think there's a free tier storage. Mm-hmm. So you would have had to start paying just to use the CLI. So I told us to use Portal.
You say that. I mean, I've never once used Cloud Shell. I always use the one.
Locally.
I mean, there's plenty of need for using Cloud Shell as well. So if, for example, you were maybe limited by IP.
Mm-hmm. Or if you were not allowed to install stuff on your machine, which is the most common scenario, isn't it? Yeah. Where your network administrator controls that. Oh, red. What's that saying?
You need to delete that resource group as well, Pete. That other AZL TF state one.
Maybe it's still deleting it.
It might still be deleting.
I'll just check that 1 sec. It's not there. I haven't got that in my list of resource groups at all. So something's cached. I've had this problem before where I have deleted something and it sort of caches it for a good long time.
Yeah, I've had that with the.
Here's what we'll do. For now, let's work around it and
hit it with the hammer.
We'll just slightly rename it.
Oh, breaking convention. Oh, Liam.
No, not at all.
Stay within the convention, Pete. Jesus, what do you take me for?
You're going to change UKS to UK South?
Well, this is where I have in the past used. I mean, obviously it doesn't change every time, but this is where I've used unique string in the past, so that you actually get a random 15-digit number. But
how does it remember that across
so
runs?
it uses a hash of the resource group name, or depending on the resource you're using, it effectively reverse engineers a seed, if you will, from other metadata that's associated with the resource. So at least then, if you're using unique string, it's not like it's going to deploy a unique one every time you run it. It does at least resolve to the same number every time you run a unique string.
Yeah, exactly.
It's handy because it means that it's globally unique across, more likely to be globally unique across your global if there is any resources that you're creating that have that as a restriction.
Well, that makes sense.
Which some public-facing stuff like endpoints and website URLs have that requirement.
Slightly obfuscates what you're doing, I guess, to a small degree as well.
Yeah, I've been having that debate a bit at work about the fact that you could argue that meaningful names are useful more for humans than computers. So in some respects, the unique string should be enough. And somebody was arguing, advocating for the fact that using tags is actually a better way of providing human readable search. The only thing that I would counter against that, there's an awful lot of Azure Portal Resources GUI that just shows your name. It doesn't give you an ability to add tags as a column on the UI.
Right.
So you would have to do the search for the tag to find the resources. You wouldn't just be able to look at a list of resources in a resource group and see the tags by default.
That's what tags are for, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it's useful for searching, but in terms of the fact that there's an awful lot of Portal GUI that doesn't show you tags, it's less likely. But tags are super useful for the billing investigations if you're wanting to actually keep an eye on costs across projects. Definitely tags are a good thing to look at.
You can have a customer with an overreaching tag that has multiple resource groups for individual projects, but you want to do it on a customer basis rather than an individual project basis.
And the other thing that we talked about in the previous episode that I mean, it's certainly changed in my mind since the last time we talked with everyone, is the realization that Bicep's gone production in the 0.3 feature branch and beyond. So we've said in the past that we may come back to this project and look at doing a alternative version. We may do that now that Bicep's gone prod.
Yep. And you were going to do your own ARM version of this, weren't you, Jonathan?
Well, I mean, effectively, it makes no sense to do. I'm almost tempted to just skip that and just do, because I'm doing ARM because I didn't want to use Bicep because it wasn't prod ready. But now I'm thinking of skipping straight to Bicep anyway now, because there's 100% support for everything that ARM does, Bicep does.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
I have a talk that touches on some of that stuff, Jonathan. We're doing stuff in Bicep. You've gone all Rainbow-y vomiting on the stream, apparently.
Who, me or Jonathan?
Jonathan.
Oh, it did that to me one night,
Oh, maybe I have to change the codec again. I have gone weird. Thank you for that.
Your sound's fine, but
yeah, it was Cliff. Cliff went rainbow vomiting as well one night. It was quite fun actually, because he turned his blinds all rainbow-like.
So just whilst you've been talking, I've made a couple of changes to kind of work around this thing as well, because before we were building things up step by step, and we'd gotten to the point where we had our storage account already, and that was fine, and we got all that information straight back out. But now we're in a point where we have our deployment in our same pipeline, and we're storing our TF state in a uniquely named storage account, which is partly auto-generated as we go through the process. So what I'm doing is I've done two things, which folks that have been watching will have been seeing, but just to talk Jonathan and Pete through it. So I've renamed this output variable here to TF storage account name, just to keep things simple and more obvious as well. So that'll actually come out now, and there's lots of different ways you can go about getting this. So what will happen is if we just drop back into our organization here, so we have this prereqs that runs, and you'll have seen this. This is our successful one earlier, and it'll grab our infrastructure stuff. So we have an ARM template already, which we could probably work into being Bicep at some point as well. But our ARM template ultimately sets up a storage account to store in our TF state in. And then we have our Azure Resource Manager template deployment task, which is going along and actually just deploying that storage account. But you can see if I scroll right to the top of up here, we have TS. The storage account name is going to be TS state, and then a unique value based on the resource group ID. So we don't actually know that until these things are deployed anyway. But because we want to be completely zero touch, we don't want to have to go into the portal at all. We want to get that stuff out now. Like I was saying, so you can, there's lots of different ways you can get the value of that output already. You can do PowerShell, and you can do all sorts of fun things. But what I've gone and done is I've actually added an ARM outputs task extension to keep things simple. Now, the thing I'm not sure on right now, is around because we're doing separate jobs, is the lifetime of those variables. So what this ARM outputs task will do is, all as it says there, really, it'll read the output values of the ARM deployment and sets them as your pipeline's variable. Now, I don't know if that variable will be available throughout the pipeline, but we'll give it a go.
It's certainly available in the same job.
But we need it in a later job.
Yeah, so I mean, in that sense, you might need to create a variable that you set. So we create a variable at the top, and then it gets set in this job, and then it's available elsewhere.
Yes, I mean that's the other thing.
While you're wiring this up, I am going to post in Twitch chat the alternative approach that I've used, which you've just mentioned, which is PowerShell. So for those of you that can't or maybe not able to install things into DevOps because of permissions, like Pete was saying earlier, the PowerShell, there is Adam the Automator's blog has an example PowerShell script that I've used in the past that just takes, you just use a PWSH PowerShell task, and then it would just run that ARM output, and it's effectively just taking the JSON output that the name's referred.
I think you can still, yes. So I wonder if that's still possible. Let's just have a look at that.
JSON. You can see it in the pipeline run.
Well, that's the thing. So I'm wondering if because that'll run.
So there's
and then where's his
script? Where is his script? There's a PS. It's called
Backpack.
It's called parsarm deployment output.ps1 somewhere.
Well, my thoughts here are, so he's basically querying the.
He's doing a JSON conversion basically. He's doing a convert from JSON.
Okay, so we're basically in the same place. So I'm wondering if there's a way we can just query the already just query the resource group and get it from the deployment itself.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do it manually because but you'd still have to do the conversion from JSON to get to the object that you want. So all he's done is he created a generic way of saying the name becomes a variable and the value becomes its value, and then you basically just wire it up in a single line.
Okay. Well, let's go and crack on with this. So okay, so we're swapping all of these things to UK. Oh, hold on, let me just finish adding this in.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Outputs to process. Yeah, don't need to prefix it with anything.
When I was adding this kind of thing, that's the system, the debug variable at the top of the pipeline makes it really useful because you can see the assignments of variables from these kind of tasks where you can see all the stuff that it's managed to parse out of the ARM outputs. You get to see each variable. And it was super useful when I was trying to learn what the variable was called. Not least because at one point I found that I had a prefix. There was some strange prefix on the system variable, but anyway, I can't remember exactly what that was. But this is handy because again, the GUI and this, the translation between YAML and the actual task is quite handy in this. I like how they've done it.
We've got everything.
On the bicep thing, Liam showed me how to call the bicep even though there's no task for it per se yet in DevOps. It's dead easy to execute from ARM CLI, AZ, I suppose. So,
well, it's first-party support now, isn't there? So you don't have to compile it down into ARM anymore. You just go, here's bicep, and away you go.
I suspect somebody will create a wrapper like these, the one that you're using at the moment, just to make it easy for people to understand.
Yeah. Maybe it's something for us to do on the show.
Yeah. Build a pipeline wrapper and submit the pull request to the DevOps Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Okay, so let's see what happens here.
Please wait.
Yeah, because this is variables from ARM outputs into other jobs is new territory for me. So I don't know if this will work. Find out.
Yeah, no, it does work. I don't know about this runner, but I mean, I've done it myself where I've taken the output for definite. Where's my
So we've got a build happening. So just to remind folks, again, as we're going through, so this is also building our .NET Core 3.1 function app for our backend. At some point, we will upgrade it to .NET 5, and we were basically waiting for that to be supported in functions, which it is now. I think as of pretty much the last show, if not slightly before.
Yep.
But we're going to get our pipelines sorted first, and then we'll go through that upgrade process as well. Yeah, there's something amiss with this UI at the moment, isn't there? It's not very happy.
Well, I'd be interested to see if you were to switch to the raw output of this build, whether there are 3,000 logs. You know, in the top right-hand corner, it says view raw log. I'd be interested to see if there is just something to do with the UI or whether it is actually spitting out 3,000 lines of stuff.
Well, I think it only shows you the raw log after it's completed.
Yeah, I think this is just a GUI bug then.
Yeah. Which is, as much as I love Azure DevOps, my main gripe with it is it's usually this specific UI that's always got problems. Like, it's not updating fast enough, or there we go. There's our.
In this case, it's updating too fast. What's it complaining about? It's a bit blurry. Failed to check resource group status.
Checking if it existed. So, so we've got 403. So, what we'll need to do is create a service connection. So let me just move this over here. So that other subscription, which I might not have access to. Oh no, there is one in there. Excuse me. Let me just rename it in here. We're just doing this off screen just to remove any secrets being displayed on the screen that you might be problematic. So I can't verify our service connection there to that other one, Pete.
You can't verify that service connection to that other one. What's that other one?
The one that ends in E7.
The other is your subscription.
What's it say? Oh, what do you mean, though?
We need you to go into DevOps and then authorize a new service connection from DevOps to your other
apparently, I created this there, which is new and exciting.
Well, you probably did, because we've got permissions on the first subscription that Pete gave us access to, the one that's named exactly the same.
It's in Gitwatcher, isn't it? I'm just trying to read the blurry writing.
The exact page you need to.
That's okay. That's okay. I know how to get there.
Into your browser and realize I haven't got dark mode on. It was like, what's going wrong with Portal? It's because I've not turned on dark mode. I'm just trying to think what else has been going on.
Interestingly, from an IoT point of view, because obviously you're now going to talk about that, there's a new IoT Hub update service where you can update not only like IoT Edge modules and things like that, but also the underlying operating system that you're running on. And it uses DevOps pipelines as the underlying service as part of that. So,
what does that? So, is that to update IoT devices?
Yeah. So if you're running Linux, and obviously at the moment they're just going to go on the specific Microsoft Linux flavor that they've got. I forget what it's called now, begins with an M. But
Sphere?
No, begins with an M. There's a flavor of Linux. So you've got like Debian and Ubuntu and all those specific Microsoft version of one of those. And yeah, you can update the underlying operating system through the IoT Hub, which is something you've not been able to do very easily before, with all of the security and everything that you need with that. They demo it on that Percept device, that new Percept device.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm considering buying Percept. I don't know what I'd use it for though. Like everything that I buy.
Yeah, I want to buy one as well.
What am I actually going to do with it? Probably nothing, but it's nice to have.
Yep. Typically, it's taken ages to load my resource groups. It's spinning on a loading spinner.
Cool. Well, I don't think you need to set a resource group. Let's just set the scope level to subscription for now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe let's do that then. But then the subscription is okay. So on that screen, how do I add a new one?
You shouldn't need to add a new one. You should just. I just need you to verify it. So if you're in Edit Service Connection,
I'm in Service Connections, and then I went into Edit.
On that,
just verify
the one ending in
verification
E7,
failed.
yeah,
Service endpoint details authorization null.
that's the error I got. Tell you what, Pete.
Can we
why
delete
don't
that
we-
one and recreate a new one?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, let's try that, or just give us contributor on the other stuff.
On the other one? Well, I mean, might as well just do it right. I'll delete this one. It doesn't matter, does it? If I delete it?
I think so.
Right, cleaning up service principal details.
So
So
what we
here's
passed in as a subscription ID rather than anything else. Oh, I know what we've also done. So let me go back into here. Somewhere in here, we're calling it Git Watcher. So this backend service arm and environment service, Azure RM, will need to change from Git Watcher essentially, or we can change.
that Git Watcher service principal there is locked to that subscription. Interestingly, won't let me change subscription.
Normally DevOps creates one for you on the fly, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's automatic. So if I go
Okay,
in,
well,
obviously, if I go to Service Connections, then I get Azureish Live as the GitHub repo,
It might be.
and I get Git Watcher. Yeah, a new service connection entirely.
Yeah, just
I'll do
do a. Tell you what, I'm going to delete the Git Watcher one that we have now.
Yep, and this is an
Well.
Azure Resource Manager 1 service connection, isn't it?
Yeah, so
Service
yeah,
principal
Azure Resource Manager, and then if you create it with just call Git Watcher or one word, uppercase G, uppercase W, we shouldn't have to change anything, and just make sure we're picking the right subscription.
I'm just going to refresh. Have you deleted it already?
I have.
You have? Cool. I just need to refresh the page because it'll probably think it's already there if it's on my screen. So I've done that. Azure Resource Manager, Service Principal Automatic. You're happy enough with that? Don't want managed identity or published profile or anything like that.
No.
Right, now subscription is spinning on loading subscriptions. Of course it is. Oh, here we go. Right. And I need the one that ends in E7 rather than 67. And we don't need a resource group. And you just want to call it Git Watcher, capital G, capital W.
All one word, yeah.
Grant access permission to all pipelines. Save. Setting up connection. There we go.
See
Done. It's done.
Okay, I'm going to hit run.
Links to Azure blogs while you're doing that to the Twitch audience so that you can see what you're talking about, Precept. And...
Yes.
Oh, for Precept and stuff.
Precept.
Yeah.
I keep calling it Precept. I've got no idea why I keep calling it Precept. Because the whole
isn't that a bit like Minority Report?
Yes.
Oh, it's precog.
Precogs, yeah. But I mean, the whole idea of it is it's like a perceptual bit of AI at the edge sort of stuff. It's sound and images and stuff like that. So it's.
I mean, the real question though, Pete, is can we use it to build the smart doorbell we keep talking about building?
Yes. Yeah, but you wouldn't need to. You can use an NVIDIA Jetson for that, and you can actually get your hands on it.
Massive though.
No, it's not. It's about that big. I think.
Use my Raspberry Pi Mini thing, but then again, I think I've done a bad soldering job on the
Pi Zero or
Pi Zero.
Yeah, you can do it. I made little.
Not the Pico because I wanted the Wi-Fi bit.
Well, that's the point. Like, I mean, whilst this is building, we might as well talk about this. I guess the tough part with that is, so let's take a Ring doorbell. They're not massive, but it's what can we fit into that sort of size device.
The majority of that is the battery pack.
Yeah, exactly. So Pico might be the better option.
Yeah.
But then we can't just write it on it. So, or use like the what's the thing that we couldn't use before because it'd run out of signups or whatever it was? The IoT cognitive services stuff like computer vision.
Oh yeah, the next generation of that you had to have a decent use case for before they'd accept you on the beta.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of that now. But that was
There we go. That's much better.
Yay! Look, it's done it.
If I go back to the portal, I should see those.
It's still going, Pete.
Yep.
Hold on.
No, I can see the resource group. I can see one of them anyway. The TF state shared one has arrived.
Yep.
So there's our ARM outputs as well. So our ARM outputs says updating pipelines variable rather than anything else. So let's see if that persists throughout. And here's where we'll find if it fails or not.
T-shirts have got ARM outputs.
Haha.
Oh dear. I've just realised I've not wearing the right branding today. Branded.
No, I ended up wearing mine at the weekend just because it was the first T-shirt I picked up. So it's in the wash.
Fair.
Okay, so Terraform init failed
because
reasons. Oh, hold on.
Oh, maybe it did.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
There we go.
That's a good
because that wasn't replaced.
Okay.
So it's not persistent then, is that what you're saying?
It hasn't persisted, no.
No, it can persist
so
off now.
Have we still got sysdebug on or not? Because you could have a look in the previous job to see whether it was set. Because if we have it on, then
I imagine we probably do not have it on, but we can turn it on.
Yeah, if the system debug doodad.
It's a variable, isn't it?
It is. It's a variable called system.debug:true in variables. You've probably already got a variable section, or maybe not.
We want to do one for the whole.
Yes, you're right. So it's just system.debug.
Am I formatting this right? Let's just double check. Yeah.
Yeah, that's variables in the dev stage. Yeah, you're right. :true. Yeah, because if you run that, you basically get a very verbose, including its setting. Now, obviously, there is the risk of secrets.
Yes.
So just be mindful of that. But it's.
I'm basically going to wait for it to run and then just go to that task.
Exactly. That's fine.
But
yeah, it's really useful. I mean, there are still obviously anything that you were pulling from Key Vault that was marked as secret. It still doesn't output those things. So if it was connection strings that were sensitive, then at least DevOps doesn't. You'd have to go actively looking for those.
Yeah,
but it's useful for the rest of the non-secret stuff. So does feel a little bit like back in my junior development days where you just stick log.debug statements in just I got here.
Yes. Yeah, I've done that loads of times. And I'd surround them by something that makes them stand out as well if you can't colour it.
Yeah, look, there's all the verbose output as well for that. So, I mean, that UI bug is also including system.debug because, look.
It's just, I think it's any output at all. It's literally repeating groups of. Yeah, there's definitely something funky going on there.
Yep.
Who do we hit up with an issue? Where's their repo?
Yeah.
Well,
video proof anyway. We can send you a link to Twitch to show you what we were seeing.
Exactly. Here's the video evidence. Hello to everybody in the chat, by the way.
Yeah, I know there's quite a few people.
There is Abbott Costello, Atten, Bin Cortana. I like that, Bin Cortana. Casino, is that Casino Thanks or is it Casino Hanks? I'm not sure. Commander Root, Droop.org. I like that. That's cool. Electrical calling board. Hackney.
Longboard, if you read it as well.
Oh yeah, I think you're probably right with. I like electrical longboard. I like that electrical longboard. It's fine. Ice Wizards. Join Fort.
Yeah, it is being set.
And there's Louise.
Yeah, absolutely. hello Louise, and Silly Gnome 225 and Talk to Me Goose _ Thank you very much for joining in. I don't recognise any of those names aside from Louise as well. So if you're new here, thank you for coming along.
Indeed.
You can go to our YouTube channel and catch up with the stuff that we've done in previous weeks as well.
We don't quite have the 100 followers there yet for a funky name for us to be able to use, but when we do, you can do. But we'll pop it in the chat for folks as well.
Yep.
So that variable is being set. It's just not persisting between jobs. So for now, just given the amount of time we've got left on the show, I'm going to go through and edit the pipeline, and we'll just set it manually for now. And again, this is stuff we can probably set up separately, but we'll figure out the the persistence between jobs in the background. We'll be able to explain it on the next show. But let's pop it in there for now.
While you're doing that, if you're interested in IoT, then Cliff Aegis and myself will be doing IoT Live tonight, again at 9 p.m. GMT. I think we're going to be talking about the Azure IoT SDKs, amongst other things, tonight, and just sort of running through what are available to people to get into that. So do join us on this same channel at 9 p.m. GMT.
Nice.
And I'll send a tweet out to that effect as well. I've not done that yet. Been too busy.
In terms of
and obviously we've got our Discord too, which is somewhere. Where's my invite people button?
We'll need to create a graphic for that for the stream next time.
I do. It's on my long growing list of to do. So let's just do expire then. Yeah. Copy. So there's our Discord link if you want to join us there on Discord too. And when we figure out how to do watch parties and all that kind of fun stuff in there as well, we'll be doing that as well.
Sure.
So you'll be able to join in with other fans of the show and the overall community there too.
Yeah, I shared
put a link to that
this morning that there's clearly investment happening at Discord at the moment, and Microsoft's one of the ones that is allegedly sniffing around to buy Discord. That'll be interesting with the Xbox cloud gaming. And I also saw an interesting story this week talking about Microsoft's two-screen folding phone,
the Surface Duo,
and the Surface Duo, and that interestingly, of course, opens up gaming opportunities where you can have a configurable gaming pad on one screen and Microsoft's streaming Xbox service to the other screen, so you don't have to have a lot of on-board processing to play games on a handheld device. So, yeah, there's lots of exciting stuff happening in Xbox land at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of
sorry.
in terms of the handheld gaming like that. So I already use Project X Cloud or the cloud streaming that there is now because I'm a Game Pass sub. And I've just got a little clip that goes onto one of my Xbox controllers. I've got the same for
Jonathan's gone
for my PlayStation wooden controller as well, actually.
There he is.
For playing games remotely. And that it's a game changer ultimately.
Excuse the pun.
Well, I mean, I'm interested to try it because I've tried. I don't know if anybody else has, but I've tried Google Stadia and it was jerky and not very.
Yeah,
not being great.
I wanted to like Stadia, but it is trash. So
I didn't have it long enough. Even Farming Simulator that you would have thought wouldn't have taxed it that much was still impossible to not crash into things.
Right.
Whereas like on Xbox, what was I playing recently? I've been playing a lot of Destiny 2, and I've had no lag, no problems with it at all. And again, even with the PlayStation equivalent, although I'm doing remote play to my PS5 downstairs, up to my phone when I'm just sort of sat in bed with the controller plugged in. Like I was playing Cyberpunk 2077, and it was flawless.
I don't like this concept of where they were starting talking about coping with lag by doing AI to guess what direction you would move in. Like, well, hang on a minute. If you're going to compensate for lag by moving me before I've moved, then that's not really me playing the game, is it?
No. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure how they're removing the lag at all. But like I say, when I've been playing Destiny, and I played like a lot of the PvP in Destiny, so like a lot of the Gambit sorry, and a lot of the Vanguard stuff, so Control and so on, where reactions matter because you're playing against other people. But I've not really noticed any perceivable delay, at least.
It's clever stuff. I mean, it's cloud gaming. It kind of makes sense. This idea that the whole reason that cloud computing is so popular is because you're relying on somebody else's API to create resources on the fly. The idea that you could do the same for gaming computing just makes a lot of sense, in the sense that why sweat the small stuff of upgrading your machine if you can just tap into a better platform centrally?
Well, exactly, and I think there's another element to that as well that's worth mentioning, that we do have a gaming show that we do, which is
nice segue
tomorrow, I think.
Yep.
From 8 p.m. So we've taken a break from bringing guests in and playing Among Us and all that kind of stuff, and we're having a fairly hostful time playing Star Trek Bridge Crew in VR, because what can possibly go wrong? It's a great team building exercise, to say the very least.
It's just so that you two can point at each other. That's all that we end up doing.
That's all we do.
Literally,
We push the jelly beans and then we point at each other.
Just find the fruit pastels and then you just point at each other.
And as soon as you get that Oculus headset, Jonathan, we're going to do some golf as well. I think that would be even more conducive to the show, because there's a lot more chatting. Yeah, there's a lot more chatting you can do in the golf than there would be in Star Trek.
Okay, so that has because if we talk at all in Star Trek about not Star Trek, things go wrong very quickly.
They do, yeah, the Borg have
we run into asteroids in the Borg chase. We don't get much time to chat at all. It's almost like we have to do the job that we're intended to do. But that's 3 green ticks there, Liam.
It is. So I am just bringing my window over.
Here's one I made earlier.
Yeah, we can see that there's our TF state there. There's our resource group. And if we do AZ, what's the function app thing? In fact, hold on. One moment, please.
Oh, please hold.
So we're kind of into the last 5 minutes of the show next. We're a few minutes. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So AZ web app. What's the command for it? I see how the joy of AZ Interactive doesn't actually work on my machine.
Function app that you're on about?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here though. Look at that.
Maybe it's still doing stuff in the background. Oh, it could autocomplete exit though.
It could autocomplete exit. So, what's our thing for listing function apps, folks?
I thought it was function app, but you're trying to say whether it was app service or not. Is that what you're saying? I'm just quickly doing the old.
I think it's. I can see it. They're function app.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Function app.
They exist.
Function
they exist.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah. And there is in UK West, in fact.
Yes, because you changed that to make it unique.
So yeah, there's that up and running, and we're in that place now that it's fairly. I'd probably say we're fairly confident and comfortable that we can see dev is getting deployed for the back end. So next time on the show, we'll go through and let's just quickly double check that, because we did start that whilst we're here. We set up our CI for the front end. Let's just do CI/CD as well.
Talk to me, Goose is saying, how do we ultimately solve input delay when we rely on electrons traveling around your controller to a server? Back on the Xbox conversation that we had, that's especially nice for perceive even the slightest delays. Like, I mean, that's definitely true. But I've played Xbox remotely through the app. By the way, I can hear myself back through somebody's speakers.
It might be me because I've turned you up. Sorry.
That might be it. And it's lagless. It just works on your local network as long as you've got your Xbox plugged in, wired.
For things to be perceivable by humans, you're not talking about milliseconds. I mean, you're going to tolerate a little bit of lag at the very best of times anyway. And I suppose that there's an awful lot of push these days for more resource going to edge computing, where you are putting more of the processor resources in geographically geographical locations that are close to users, rather than relying just on everything having to go across the Atlantic to the US servers and back. I mean, we know that when we've been playing Among Us on the Azureish Live After Dark channel, the show that Liam mentioned earlier, that some of us, we have to sometimes switch to a different geographical region because of lag. So if you are able to connect to a service that is in your territory, and not even that, if it's within the 100 miles, that's going to make a huge difference. I mean, obviously there's still then the coordination of that, but I think there's a move in cloud computing. It feels that the more data centers that are being brought online helps this problem, because you're running things closer to the consumers that are using them, rather than it being everything just being US centric, and then us having to tolerate sort of almost satellite delays on stuff. So I think that's only going to get better and I think in some respect gaming is going to drive that lag down, because gamers are so very aware of frames per second and lag time. So in some respects, gaming as a use case for cloud may actually focus the attention on lag far more.
Another place where this has been worked on, of course, is VR, where lag is one of the main things that causes people to be sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I've suffered with that. Back in the days when they used to use Atari STs, I remember going to a VR center in Nottingham that was one of the first ones,
big ones,
which had massive headsets.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were turning your head and then it would catch up makes a huge difference to whether you feel. I mean, in some respects, I think the augmented reality approach that Microsoft's HoloLens has means that you're not reliant on the computer to fill 100% of your view. You're looking for less computing resource to apply the bits that are being overlaid onto reality. So I think in some respects, we'll see more augmented reality in a mass market device than we will complete VR immersion, not least because you're disconnecting from the real world as well. But
I like that part though, disconnecting from the real world.
Yeah, I mean, there's benefits in terms of allowing. I mean, a lot of games are so good because they force you into worlds that you don't live in. So in many ways, that the immersive.
Well, sure. There's a lot of scope, isn't there, for that kind of thing? And I think at the moment, especially over the past, because of the last 12 months, there's definitely more of a market for that level of escapism as well. Cool. So whilst you've been talking, what I've done is I've just quickly checked where we got to on our front end. Basically, the only thing that's missing on the front end side of things is our ability the actual step to deploy into our storage account, because it's all static files, which we'll cover on the next show. But what I have done anyways, I've kicked off a build and a release for pushing out all the infrastructure to dev at least, so we can pick that up next time.
And is that using the same pipeline file or a similar? Have you just taken another copy of that to?
It's basically 90% the same, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Everything is up to the point of just before we do a deploy of artifacts.
Nice.
But what we can do as well, and it might be worth, rather than actually completing the deploy on the show next time, is taking all those repeatable steps and then making them template tasks. In fact, that's just failed, but we'll come back to that anyway. But we'll make them those kind of template tasks for reuse in other pipelines as well. So we only then need to pass things in once and just make changes in those single places.
My test-driven development brain thinks that ending on a failing test is great because it means that we've got something to do next time.
Yeah, cliffhanger.
But what we do have out of today's show is a complete green dev environment where for our back end, at least, where we are, we're building our function app, we're setting up our Terraform state backend, we're then deploying our function app and consumption plan with Terraform, and then going on and deploying our API on top of that. So we've actually got quite a lot done in the last hour and hour and 5. And be sure to tune in to Pete's show tonight on IoT Live, which will be here on our Twitch channel as well, which is obviously twitch.tv/Azureish Live. And you can always catch up anytime over on our YouTube channel as well. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching, folks. You can basically catch content pretty much every other day this week. Otherwise, so like we mentioned, there's Pete's show tonight. We've got Azureish After Dark tomorrow, where we'll be continuing the voyages of the USS Azureish.
Oh yeah,
and
not the other word.
On Friday, we've got another edition of In Conversation with Johnny Chips, where we'll have April Edwards joining him to have a chat about all things on that side of things. Pete, do you know when you're going to be picking up your Thursday show again yet, or are you not? You're not ready yet.
Couple of weeks time, probably, hopefully, with Paul DiCarlo. We'll be doing some NVIDIA Jetson AI at the Edge stuff, which I'm really excited about. And I think actually tomorrow, Paul's starting his series of remote workshops on that. I think I've signed up for tomorrow's. Although I'm not sure if I'll have time. I've got some stuff planned in the evening that I need to concentrate on. So I might go to the one that's next week. He's got 3 of them in a row. I think he's filled it up. So I'm telling you about something you can't possibly join unless you've already signed up. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to go through that. So yeah.
Well, folks, as always, if you head to the link at the top of the screen now, you can get to our GitHub repos and you'll see the GitWatch project there, which has got everything we've done in today. You know, you'll be able to also contribute to that as well if you want to. You're more than welcome to open PRs there too. But failing that, we shall see you all again in, what's the next date for this? I think we're into April, aren't we?
Yep, we are. It's going to be the 6th of April.
Cool. So, folks, once again, thank you for watching, and we will see you on April the 6th.
Bye.